All right, GFFL, we're back for week 4. Kind of a interesting thing we got going on. I got the Lakers on my phone here, so I'm going to be pretty distracted. But that's okay. Matt is a little bit more sober this week than last week. I do have some reporting to do that. Unfortunately, we've lost our sponsor due to our drunkenness last week. I'm unsure if Becker's Sports Cards is going to send us our package or not, but hopefully we can get that.
I mean, I'm still waiting for that Bam Bam card.
I know, Bam Morris. Let's see it. So, anyways, how you doing this weekend, Matt?
I'm getting my ass kicked again by Rich.
It seems to be a trend for you.
Yeah, it's not looking good for the old Any Given Sunday squad. At least he's beat me so bad. There's not a whole lot I could have done differently on my bench, so makes me feel a little bit better, I guess.
Will Fuller scored you a touchdown.
You did?
Making that pick look good.
I needed about 7 more from him to have a shot.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, what do you? I mean, yeah, Rich is just his team exploded this week.
Yeah, man. What's he got? What's he put up? 160. That's pretty good. Yeah. I feel like in this league, if you can hit 120, you're going to win a lot of games. But man, 160. Whew.
Yeah, he's smoking it right now. I'm projected to put up 97. So blowout of the week.
Not looking good. We actually have somebody watching us live. Let's see here. I don't know who it is, but that's awesome.
Get him in here. We need some more content. We don't know what the fuck we're going to talk about.
I'm going to try and post the link in here, and let's see. It might be Whitus. I think it might be Whitus. Let's see here. I'll post it in here, and if Whitus joins us, we'll have him hop in. But let's get started. And it is Whitus. Whitus. If you want to click on that link, you can join us. I'll add you.
Yeah, you don't even need to create an account. You can just be a guest.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. All right, so waiver wire pickups. Nothing crazy this week. The only ads that I thought were of interest was Jimmy Graham for $21 and Anthony McFarland for $20. I've been a big Jimmy Graham guy most of his career, but man, he's up and down, and but tight ends are hard to come by. I was watching the ticker today, and you know how Fox does. They do like the top 10 fantasy positions or whatever, and it's tough. But with those tight ends, it's like if a guy scores a touchdown, he's in the top 10. It was funny. I was seeing guys. Yeah, so
outside of like 5 guys, that's 6 through 15 spot just switches all the time.
Yeah, it's crazy. But and then with the Anthony McFarland, Matt and I were talking about that beforehand. I thought that was a lot of money for him, but Matt had some good persuasion on his end to get me to see it differently. So I thought that Matt, if you want to share what you said,
I think I see the value there. I mean, he's a rookie. Benny Snell's had some fumbling issues. Granted, he's only had a very small sample size in the time that he's played, but I thought he showed flashes of looking really good. He's a smaller back, but a lot of quickness. So as the season progresses, they may be able to use him in a little bit different ways out of the backfield, almost as like that Le'Veon Bell receiver role that James Conner hasn't always been able to fill. So, I think there's upside there. I think maybe he could potentially do something at the end of the season, and maybe he's a keeper at the end of the year. Who knows? So, I don't mind that $20 spend on McFarland there. I kind of like it actually.
Yeah. You kind of convinced me on it, but I guess maybe that's a move more for the future, not necessarily for right now to help your team, unless one of those guys goes down.
Yeah, I think that is. I think it is definitely a future move. Um, I would imagine. But like rookies, are kind of highly sought after. I'm finding out in this league, so you gotta pick your spots and take some chances on some guys. And the fact that you had a rookie that was even on the wire with a team like Pittsburgh, I think probably worthwhile.
Yeah, definitely. Other than that, I didn't really see a whole lot. Just a lot of those were the two guys that were bid on the most. So I figured we can kind of keep it short and sweet there.
Yeah.
Maybe spend most of our time in the league standings aspect of it. Surprise player benched or started. You had a few guys this week that you were kind of following. So if you want to go ahead and share those.
Yeah, so I had CD away, benching Ingram, Mark Ingram. I thought that was a little bit of a surprise. I picked these before the games. That was a little bit of surprising to me. Hoove and I just looked at the scoring. It really wouldn't have really no bearing on the game either way. Um, but as I just looked at his lineup, I forget who he had in his flex. Adrian Peterson. So just me personally, I think I probably would have went with Ingram over Peterson, but the total point difference was 0.1, so there's
Right.
there's no can't really make a argument
No,
there.
definitely. I definitely would have. I would have went with Ingram as well over Peterson. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I figured them coming off a loss to the Chiefs. They like to run the ball. So I thought he would have had more points than he did, but he didn't. So no harm, no foul either way. Um, New Day benching Matt Ryan, and I think you said he started Goff. Is
Yeah,
that right? Who?
yeah, he went with Goff.
Yeah, so I was just a little bit surprised there. I think Matt Ryan has been pretty great fantasy wise this year. Sometimes he's not always a name that you think about just because Atlanta continues to find ways to lose games, but they throw the ball a lot. Um, so, I'm pretty much on board for starting Matt Ryan week in and week out, um, fantasy wise at least.
And I mean, Julio and Calvin. Are they both playing?
Uh,
I know Calvin is.
yeah, Calvin is. I think Julio is questionable. But even with that, when they've had an injury to one of them, Russell Gage has looked pretty good in the games that he's played. Even when they're healthy, he's looked okay. And when one of them are out, he kind of steps up and takes that extra role, that additional role. We've not seen a whole lot from Todd Gurley this year, but he hasn't shown the explosiveness that you've seen from him in the past. But he was a constant receiver out of the backfield a couple years ago. So you would think that capability's there. So
Yeah,
um,
yeah. Did you
no,
have any other ones or?
yeah, I had one. The final one I had, and again, I don't think it really had much bearing. Was actually Whitus um, benching DJ, and again, I don't think it had any bearing on the game um, at all. And Whitus, to be fair, he's absolutely loaded. Um,
Yeah,
I love his receiving core. He's probably got my favorite receiving core in our league right now. With Aaron Jones, obviously you're not benching him. I'm actually probably would have switched him out for Jonathan Taylor if it were me. I understand why he didn't, but I think he can make a really great argument for starting Jonathan Taylor over DJ. But that's just a game that I thought with Minnesota and the Texans both going in 0-3,
yeah,
that Minnesota has not shown very good line on either side of the ball. So I kind of thought he would have a bigger game than what he did. And at the end of the day, I think starting Taylor, maybe cost him a point or two over had he would have started DJ. So
yeah,
those are the only ones that stood out for me. Obviously, everyone has people on their bench that scored more points. They went, oh man, wish I'd have started him.
for
But
sure.
those were just the ones prior to the game starting that I kind of
Yeah.
guessed.
Yeah, I didn't get around to kind of checking in on that this week. But so I thought those were some good ones that you kind of picked out. But it's funny how you picked them beforehand, just to be like unbiased kind of thing, not hindsight 2020, and then the ones that you picked ended up not making a
Yeah,
huge
hopefully
difference.
Matt Ryan scores 45 points tomorrow. That way I can be like, got him.
Like, yeah.
He'll probably break his leg in the first quarter, though.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, injuries, man. That's what we're talking about. It's tough this year. It seems like anything I do, I get an injury on one of my teams or my FanDuel lineup that I do. That's like the long shot. It's crazy. It's frustrating. All right, so we're gonna jump into one of our more profitable segments, Monday Night Football lines. We do have an extra Monday night game. I've decided I'm not picking spreads or over-unders for this week, only because every time I pick, I'm wrong, but I always pick a touchdown scorer. So,
and nail it.
If you would have listened to me last week, I nailed that Mahomes, and that was a nice payout too.
Yeah, I don't know what I told you guys to do last week. I can't remember. So.
You were right because I was wrong on the spread. You were right. I was wrong.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I went with the Ravens. Was it the Ravens? Yeah, and you went with the Chiefs.
Oh, so you got straight, I think.
Yeah. So for this week, I'm only going to provide 2 anytime touchdown scores, and a lot of it's based off of how it pays out. Any guy that you think that would score for the Packers is not that great of a payout this week, so I kind of didn't really look at that. I looked at the Falcons, and they have some injuries going on and stuff, so I tried to find some good value there. If I had to put money on either of these 2 players, normally I go with one, but I wasn't super confident. But I do kind of like the payout, and I like the odds with either Hayden Hurst or Russell Gage this week to score a touchdown, anytime touchdown. They both pay plus 190. So those are 2 guys that I'm kind of looking at this week or tomorrow night to get into the end zone and maybe line our wallets with some money. So.
Yeah, I definitely think that at least one of those guys hits, if not both, with obviously what I said about Matt Ryan and them needing to throw the ball a lot. So if you hit one, you're basically at even money with taking both bets, and if you can hit them both, you're looking at a pretty good night. I kind of do the same thing. I look at either good payouts or I guess bets that I think are severely undervalued, and Mecole Hardman has a over under on receiving yards, which is set at 19.5 yards. It only pays even money, but I'm on the over for that all day long. I think one reception for him could be hit that over pretty easily. Sammy Watkins has been inconsistent, showed flashes of being good, but he's always a play away from missing the entire game. So I like Mecole Hardman for plus 19.5 receiving yards tomorrow night.
I like that one too. I was actually looking at that for him to score a touchdown. He was a good payout on that, but I didn't look at yards or anything, but I kind of like that one too.
Yeah.
So let's move on to game of the week. Excuse me. All right, so the criteria for game of the week, I think if you would have picked it before the week started, you'd have went with the Walleyes against the Chaos, Becker versus Whitus. And maybe I'll try and add Whitus in here now, and so he can kind of talk about the matchup. But definitely game of the week is coming down to the end, coming down to the wire. Becker has Kittle going right now. I'm not sure if he has anybody else in this game. I don't think he does. He has Tonyan, the tight end for Green Bay, tomorrow night. And then Whitus has Calvin Ridley and Aaron Jones, which, I mean, you're kind of thinking those guys are going to go off. But Bob, he's up to 131 right now, and Whitus is sitting at 111 just waiting for this game to end tonight, which I'm sure he can't wait for it to end soon enough. I really like Whitus's chances, even with that Green Bay tight end tomorrow. As long as Kittle doesn't get in the end zone the second half, I really like Whitus's, chances. And I was saying last week how, man, I hate sitting there and watching, another guy go with 2 studs and, chasing after me. I hate that.
Yeah, Kittle's made a couple big plays I've seen in this game already, and I agree with you. I think if Kittle doesn't score a touchdown, then I think Whitus pretty, I wouldn't say easily, but I think he comes away with that game. I think if Kittle does score a touchdown, with the game he's had so far, I think it makes it very, very interesting that both of them are sweating at a lot tomorrow night during that game. Especially if Tanyan can find the end zone, then that's probably going to push Becker over the edge. But if I'm looking at the guys with the score and remaining and what's going on, especially with Julio, I think still being questionable. I could be wrong. That was just the last thing that I saw. I like Calvin Ridley a lot. So I definitely think with a Monday night game, he's probably going to want to show off on national TV. So I'm on that side with Whitus right now. If I had to pick a winner now.
Right. All right. So I'm going to try and add Whitus. He said he has a mic, so let's see if we can get it to work. Whitus, are you there, my man?
I can hear you guys. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yeah. We got him. He's in the building on 4th and 20. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So cool, actually.
So far.
So how's it going this weekend, Whitus?
I was doing pretty good until Dak went off in the fourth quarter, man. I was feeling a lot better about my chances. I think Dak had like 16 or 20 points going into the fourth quarter.
Nuts.
And then he damn near ended up with 50. He was right on the goal line and ended up throwing a pick instead of a touchdown right there. But, he ended up with 43. I mean, that's an 8-point swing right there. But, yeah, it's been a pretty close game between me and Bob.
Like it's lived up to the bill for sure. Like I was saying earlier, I definitely would have picked your guys' game of the week. 2 undefeated teams, 2 good rosters. And you got to get to Bob, man. He's, missing two starting running backs, and he's still
putting up 130,
man.
Doing it.
Yeah, for sure. Me and him have been talking a lot offline about how his team is, he's still holding tight even though he's had massive injuries. And if he could come away 4-0 and then get Christian McCaffrey back in another week or two, you couldn't have asked for a better start for his team. Yeah,
definitely. So, how are you feeling going into Monday night? I know we still have another half to play, but
sure. Yeah, it's never fun. I don't know what's worse, either having the lead and watching the other guy creep up on Monday night or being down and needing your guys to go off. It's not a good position either way.
That's true.
I'm glad I have, I'd rather have like Aaron Jones and Ridley and need a big chunk instead of having like an obscure tight end and need like 8 or something like that. So I'm glad that I have my 2 guys that are still coming in, but I don't know. I don't feel good. I wish it was better at this point, but it'll make Monday night fun to watch.
It'll make it fun for us. I don't know about for you, but I'm always definitely would rather be the one chasing, especially in your position, like you said, with 2 studs like that, as opposed to like needing Jimmy Graham to score 2 touchdowns or something. That's always terrible. Right.
So that could be a high scoring game too for just for those teams, Whitus, which I think, having a player on the field at all the time is kind of a nice thing to have.
That is nice too. Yeah,
you're always on offense, so I just went back and took a peek at the live projections, and it's now at 139.95 for Bob and 138.3 for Whitus. So, the live projections are very, very close.
And what's crazy is Bob has won 2 games already. I want to say by less than a point.
Oh my gosh.
So the fact that he's now projected to win by like 1.5 points on this one, and really it's about time somebody scored against me, because I've had a couple of walks in the park my first couple of weeks, even though I've scored well, and I think I would have done well no matter who I would have been up against. But I want to say that I've had the least amount of points scored against me. So he's giving me a run for my money this week.
Yeah, that's a good segue into, we're going to talk about the league standings if you want to stay on and,
cool,
give your input too. I was looking at your numbers, and like, I think you're like the top scorer, or maybe Timmy is, but but I was, I saw that you really haven't had any close games yet. So, I mean, I think you would have fared well against anybody in those weeks, but it's funny though. It's like you guys are both undefeated, and it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Yeah, for sure. I was looking at Tim's team. It looked like he came down to earth a little bit this week, but he, 431 points. I'm second place with 408, so there's quite a gap there. But.
Right. So let's just jump right into the Permane division here with the Permane brothers. You got a pretty good stranglehold on it. I think in my notes in our Google Doc, I just have in here, it says chaos, light years ahead of the others. I wanted to sound like the GM for the Warriors, how he said he's light years ahead of other teams.
Well, that's because I'm in that division.
For so long, Steve-O's ran it. Even in some of the years that I've done well, and I want to say even the year that I won the championship, I didn't win the division going into the playoffs. So Steve has really handled that. So him taking a significant step back, and then obviously Matt coming in, picking up a new team. I kind of feel like I've got an easier road to the playoffs this year.
Yeah, maybe you could have to start your bench against me the next time.
You
probably still beat me.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at, that division, and I would say out of all the divisions right now, that seems to be a pretty. You got a pretty good jump on that, just as far as looking at points for, points against in your record. And really,
his receiving core, like I said a little bit earlier, Whitus, I don't know if you were listening, but
I did hear. Yeah, thank you.
I freaking love your receiving core. Like they're studs right now. Stephon Diggs is the oldest guy that you have in that receiving core. So I think you got guys for years to come, which doesn't bode well for me, but for you, that's you're looking pretty good.
Yeah. I traded for Ridley last year, and when I did it, it was kind of before he started blowing up, if my memory serves correctly. And then I kind of swapped out Tyreek Hill for Diggs. It was maybe a little bit of a lateral move, but I ended up giving a pick for it. But yeah, I feel really good about my receiving core, and I was feeling pretty good about my running back, but Jonathan Taylor isn't giving me a whole lot of room for excitement. And then as Hoover knows, I traded away J.K. Dobbins, which I was also looking forward to having him in the future years. So we'll still a little bit uncertain about my running backs.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know the numbers for Taylor, but I was surprised. I kept on seeing little glimpses of the Colts game, and I was really surprised. I kept seeing Nyheim Hines, and it seemed like Taylor had a pretty good grip on that backfield. But I like I said, it was a few plays here and there. I was watching Red Zone. I was surprised to see how many times he was in though playing.
Yeah, it was a weird game. Being a Bears fan, we're watching that game, and it was just a defensive struggle. So it was, not a whole lot of offensive players went off in that game all around.
Yeah, definitely. But just kind of finish up with the Permane brothers. The biggest shocker to me is just Steve-O's team. When I pull up his roster and I look at it, and I look at it, it's just looking rough for him, and I don't know if it's just. I keep seeing him week in and week out going with two tight ends, and I just feel like, man, that's got to be tough making decisions. And, that COVID game, the COVID thing coming up for those couple of games, I know it hurts him a little bit there. But, man, he's got a lot of red O's and S's and Q's on his, on his roster. I want to say that I feel bad for him, but I really don't, because he would never – not talk shit on anybody else. So it's definitely quite a change, and it's it's crazy to see that you have that kind of a stranglehold on that division. So kudos to you.
It's kind of crazy how 1 year Todd Gurley looks really old all of a sudden. Yeah. Michael Thomas gets hurt, and his whole roster just looks completely different.
Yeah, it's wild how it does. It just doesn't even look like a Steve-O team. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's move to the Hines division. That's Bob's division, which is, year in and year out, it's always been Mokel's division, if I'm going to be honest. And, Bob's he's running it right now. I mean, he's 3-0. I would say this is probably one of the tighter divisions. I think one of the more competitive, just looking at points for and points against.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, Bob,
I think Rich has had a tough start to his year, not putting up a ton of points, but he's also been, getting guys have been scoring a lot of points against him to start the year. Outside of me this week, so you're
I was just going to say, luckily he had you on the.
Yeah, he didn't run into that this week. So, but when I look at his team, I think he's got a team that even starting out now 1-3, he can be in the mix in that division. And I think you're right, Hoover. I think that ends up being a tough division, depending on how long McCaffrey's out and how those how the guys on Becker's team play out as far as injuries are related. I think he has the best team overall in that division, but this year's been wild with staying healthy and now the COVID stuff. Like you really don't know what's going to happen. Before we started, Hoover and I were kind of talking. Fantasy always comes down to a little bit of element of luck at the end of the day.
Sure.
And it just seems like with this year, it's going to be even more of a factor of just getting lucky at the right time with, all the injuries and COVID stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising how much COVID is affecting it in the sense of, them moving games either to Monday or to, following weeks and everything else. And, there's no reason not to believe that that'll continue as the season goes on.
Yeah, for sure. And that's like, you get stuck in weird predicaments. Like I'm in another league and I have Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, and then my backups were Josh Allen and John Brown, and it's like, well, if one dude for the Chiefs comes up, who has or not the Chiefs, but for the Patriots has a positive test, like I don't know if they'll even play the game. So it's like, shoot, I guess I got to go with the sure thing, but it's gonna be crazy.
Yep.
All right, so we'll kind of move to the next division here. We got the Iron City division, and it sort of is kind of like a crapshoot, it looks like right now. With New Day Co-op, he's got a 1-game lead on me and Half Baked. Half Baked, his points for isn't too great right now, but I always say it's a run to 7 wins. If you can get to 7 wins in this league, you're going to make the playoffs, and then after that, I feel like you don't want that 1 seed. It seems like the 1 seed always loses, and it's always someone who's barely over 500 or whatever. So it's crazy, but just looking at New Day Co-op's roster and stuff, and he's got some good young talent on there, and to get in the playoffs and then face his team, it'd be pretty tough. But I do like my roster still. I wish I had a quarterback. I know Whitus, you were talking about having this sort of similar thing happen where you wait on a quarterback, and this week it didn't look like it was too bad, but now I'm in a situation where it's like I have 3 quarterbacks to choose from and I'll never know who to play. So I think this division will be up for grabs as well. I'm hoping that I feel like I have a little bit of an edge within my division, but to be seen, you never know with injuries and everything else. So but Whitus, if you want to go ahead and throw in your 2 cents on that division.
Sure. I think that the points for do speak more than maybe the overall records at this point. If I was coming into the league and I was given the option of either taking over your roster or taking over New Day Co-op's roster, I would select your roster. So take that for what it's worth. Obviously, he's got a little bit of a lead on you record wise, but I think as the year progresses, barring any kind of super craziness with injuries or COVID, I'd be surprised if you weren't on top of that division by the end of the year.
Yeah, I'll take your roster, Hoove.
I know you would switch pretty much anybody, right?
Yeah. Like, give me a year. I'll be okay.
Yeah. All right, let's see here. Matt, do you have anything else to add about the Iron City division?
No, I would just pretty much second what he just said. I think when I look at your positions overall, I think you have some really strong number 1 guys in each position, other than maybe quarterback. You have DeAndre as your number 1 receiver, Travis Kelce as your tight end, and Derrick Henry as your running back. So having those guys, I think, gives you a shot in any single game that you're going to play. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, well, all my great receivers, they laid a turd this week, so it made this week interesting. But hopefully, I should be fine. But all right, so let's move to our next division. We got the Yuengling division. and that's where, and I'm not going to lie, I really haven't been paying attention much to the league standings. And I look to see Tim's 3-0. He scored 431 points. And I'm thinking, like, what the heck? Like, I never thought of his roster as being really great, but I think maybe not paying attention. And man, he's putting up some points. And luckily not this week because I would have been screwed. But thanks, Tim. I appreciate that. And then also, I talk all that smack about Landry. And, of course, what's he do? He throws a bomb touchdown. Are you kidding me? Get out of here. That's ridiculous. But Whitus, what do you think about that division?
I think it was last week you guys had asked for like suggestions on like maybe bits or segments you guys could talk about. And one thing I was thinking about offering up was if you guys talked about like maybe pretenders, like maybe somebody that got off to a hot start and, maybe there's
pretender.
we don't like Tim on here, so you can bang on him all you want.
Yeah, I also think that you could talk about somebody that maybe got off to a slow start, and that's kind of like a pretender status that ultimately they're going to end up the season well. But I hate to jump on the bandwagon with hating on Tim's team coming on the show, but when your quarterback puts up 40, 40, 45. In the first 3 weeks. And then I want to say his defense put up like a plus 20 on one of the weeks when Russell put up 45. So just between his quarterback and his defense, he was scoring almost 80 points, so for his roster top to bottom, looking at his wide receivers are, not that great. And so I don't foresee him continuing on. I think he came a little bit back to his normal range moving forward week in to week out this week.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. And I mean, he does have a couple, Smith-Schuster, he's a pretty good receiver right now. Edelman, I think, he's going to get a lot of targets and stuff, but, our league doesn't really reward that. But, I kind of agree with you, Whitus, where I think, his team may come back a little bit here moving forward.
Yeah, I agree with both you guys. I think he does have a good team. When I look at the other teams in there, I think Uncle Rico.
Holy smokes, right?
Looking at his running back, I think he's a top 3 or 4 team in the league. So I think that division comes down to being a battle, and I think that Uncle Rico would prevail, barring crazy injuries.
The only thing about Uncle Rico's team that I could see is a weakness, which, I mean, it's fantasy football, but, I mean, he just doesn't have much depth. After his starters, which are ridiculous. I mean, his starters are stupid. I mean, let's be honest. Like, I'll be honest. He offered me a really good trade for one of my guys, and, like, a part of the reason why I didn't pull it off was because I didn't want to give him another good dude. I'm like, holy crap, man, I can't give you another good guy. Everybody will be hating me in the league.
That's kind of how I felt when I gave him Tyreek Hill. I think that if you could lock in his starters and then that was just going to be his roster for the entire year, nobody gets hurt, nobody is ever on a bye, I think he's got, a straight shot right to the championship. But when you look at his bench, I do think that he's a couple injuries away, a bad bye week where he gets hit a few different ways, that is his weakness for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I don't really think he's had to weather any kind of injuries or COVID or anything like that. So, I mean, he's been fortunate, but that's a good point. You never know with the way it seems like it's going week to week. We're losing 1 to 2, 3. Last week we lost a lot of, big time fantasy guys. So you never know when that could come and get you.
Hey, Cortland Sutherland, hey, that's really the only injury, significant one he's kind of had to endure. Yeah,
definitely. So, I mean, that pretty much wraps it up. I mean, the only notable injury that I could think of, just this is very brief, just throw it in here. We're at 35 minutes, but Eckler, he went down. So, I mean, I know that's a pretty big loss. Can you guys think of anybody else that went down today?
I saw Chubb got hurt.
Yeah. Whitus is pumped about that.
It's so terrible that Chubb got hurt. I mean, I'm just heartbroken.
I know.
Is he hurt, or is there no?
He's going to have an MRI. I don't think they've got results, or at least published the results that I've seen.
Okay.
I mean, it's probably torn ACLs, MCLs, PCLs, LCLs. I mean, it's probably – I'm just putting in that negativity into the universe.
Putting it out there.
ACLs are gone.
Hey, man, Kareem Hunt looked good though. He looked pretty good. So you got to be pumped about that.
I am, and Lance kind of made a joke about that today. You know that I traded Michael Gallup for Hunt, and it's looking like a pretty good trade for me. It's paying dividends so far.
Absolutely, definitely. I'm trying to think here, Matt. Are we missing anything else for the show this week?
I mean, I haven't been drunk this time.
That's right. You know, maybe we can get Becker's Collectibles to re-up with our sponsorship if we can talk them into letting them know that Whitus will be on every once in a while to tame it down.
Yeah, to show up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Whitus, man, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I didn't have my dogs shipping in this time though.
That's true. We didn't get the good insight, but you know, you're a good second place. We'll take that.
Plan B, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, Whitus, thanks for hopping in and jumping on with us. It made it a lot more interesting. And I like the contender pretender idea. I think maybe we'll try and add that in. And I think what we're going to try and do moving forward. Matt was really wanting to just let everyone know we're going to go live at some point. And if you guys want to jump in and just watch live, or if you want to jump in and talk a little bit about whatever, we could work something out, or if anyone wants to jump on, let us know.
Yeah, and anyone that wants to do it can do it except for Tim. He has to pay a $5 entry fee every time.
Unfortunately, his PayPal is broken still, so you can only get cash from him.
Cash up front.
Oh man.
For sure. No, thanks for having me. And it was really seamless. Like this whole the way that this is done, that was pretty dope. It brought me into like this other little room, and I knew exactly when I got on, so it was easy to get going from my end.
Yeah, it's a really great platform. Or I don't even know if it's a platform, what you want to call it, but this StreamYard is cool. It's real easy. It allows me to make some of these, like little headers and different things.
Okay.
So but it's pretty seamless. It's easy. So anyone who wants to jump in. But Whitus, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, for sure. We'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah, we'll talk to you later. All right, Matt. Well, another episode down, 4 weeks through. What do you think you can do better next week?
I mean, I'd like to say win a game, but I don't know.
I was going to say you need to drink more whiskey to make the show better.
I mean, I can if you want me to. We'd have to do it a little bit earlier because Monday morning was a little rough for me. So we switched to maybe halftime of the 4:30 games, so I have time to recover. You should start off every show with a shot.
Oh, that's a good idea. Me and my fireball. I like ripping one of that.
So
okay, here's the thought, and I'm going to put it out in the air. Hopefully, Richard will hear this. We may need to change the name of our show to something that's derogatory towards Tim, but who better to get on here than Rich to really slander Tim?
Oh yeah,
right?
We'd definitely lose every sponsorship we had at that point.
Yeah, so I think maybe that's a definite. We need to get Rich on here and talk some fantasy and definitely slander his brother Tim. So
we have to see. It'd be great if they played each other that week too. I don't know if the cards will align that great, but that would be a good time to do it.
That's some good producing you're doing right there. We'll have to look at the schedule, see if we can get them both on at the same time. That'd be great.
Oh yeah, it would.
All right, man. Well, hey, another show down, another L for you. Hopefully another win for me. We'll see. But appreciate you, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
See ya.